We're in Genesis 39, and we just got through covering that Joseph has been sold by his brothers. His brothers hated him, and they really despised him. They done everything they could to kill the dream that the dreamer had, and now they had went back home, told their father that Joseph was dead and that a wild beast had devoured him. They took back to their father the coat that he had given him, and they had soaked it in the blood of an animal and said it was Joseph's blood. And now Jacob is mourning his son. He's thinking that his son is gone. Joseph has now been sold to a caravan of Ishmaelites, and he is now on his way to Egypt. Now, really, I want you to see how God is at work. Now, there's the providential will of God, the sovereign will of God. The providential will of God is God let things happen and let man have free will to do what it is that they do, even when it undermines what God wants done, or even if it goes against the will of an individual. God allows that to happen, but God then works with that, through that, and beyond that, and in spite of that, in order to carry out his will. Now, you see God at work in this particular text. He is trying to get, and I don't want to use the word trying, but God is going to get Joseph to the palace. But the path to the palace is a place where Joseph is going to first end up in the pit. Now, the pit in Dothan is a place of misery. It's a place of rejection. It's a place of betrayal. It is a place where you experience the most difficult time in life. That's what Joseph experienced. Now, you imagine brothers you grew up with, that you were raised with, that you slept in the same house and you ate from the same table. Yes, you had different mothers, but you had the same father. And now you are betrayed and put into a pit. But really, that's not the tragedy of the story. The tragedy of the story, they wanted to kill him. The pit is where they let him dwell until they decided what they were going to do with him. And thank God for the older children, the older brothers, who decided, let's not kill him, let's sell him. And so they decided to sell him. And so there in Dothan, he experienced all of this tragedy. Now he's been sold. Now we're going to come to chapter 39. Now this is interesting because, see, God is at work. God is protecting him, even though Joseph has been put in harm's way there in the pit. And this is what I want to teach you, that in spite of man's just constantly trying to put you in danger or take you out of the game or get you removed from a place of blessings or a place of elevation, a place of promotion, that does not void out what God's going to do. God is very involved in this process. He is with Joseph. God sees Joseph. God sees the betrayal of his brothers. He sees how these things are unfolding in Joseph's life. And Joseph was just a dreamer. And he really wasn't a threat to his brothers. He was a threat in the sense that his father sent him there to Dothan to spy on his brothers, to bring back a report. And they despised him for that, as well as being his father's favorite in the coat of many colors. But now he is in Potiphar's house. Now, this is going to be an interesting story because this story has three main characters. It has Potiphar's wife. It's Potiphar, and then there's Joseph. Now, I can talk a lot about the issues in the story, but there are some outliers, some stories within the stories, and some lessons within the lessons. And I really wanted to look at this because this is about a man who has integrity, a man who chooses not to betray his master, a man who practices great restraint, a man who does not give in. Even though he is offered temptation, he does not give in to the temptation that is offered to him. Now, I want you to notice in the story, Dorothy, Joseph never lusted for Potiphar's wife. He never showed any interest. Even though he had access to Potiphar's house, he was put in charge. He had right to go in and out. And matter of fact, when you look at the conversation that he had with her, he says to Potiphar's wife, my master says, I have access to everything except you. He has put me over everything and anything. The one thing that he told me I couldn't have is you. And Joseph reminded her of that, but that didn't mean nothing to her. Because the person in the story, the villain in the story, is Potiphar's wife. I can tell so many men, so many things, but they ain't gonna listen to me. Sister, they ain't gonna listen to me. You should not take everything that's offered to you. You shouldn't. This story is about Joseph's integrity. It is about Joseph's stand to protect his integrity, but also to respect his master Potiphar. He's been given a great responsibility, great promotion above all of Potiphar's servants. He has been made Potiphar's assistant, and he wanted to make sure that he did not compromise his integrity. He did not let his talent take him where his character couldn't keep him. I just said something, little Harris. Don't ever let your talent take you where your character can't keep you. Let me give you two illustrations of that you know. P. Diddy and R. Kelly. Great talent, but their character was flawed. Nobody is perfect. R. Kelly's talent made him the #1 entertainer in R&B. P. Diddy made him the #1 in rap, but their character was flawed. You can have all the talent in the world, but if your character is flawed, and nobody is perfect, there's some things that you need to keep leashed like a dog, fenced in. Don't let it get out of control. Your lust becomes a problem when you can't control it, but it controls you. That's when, because lust as a human emotion and a physical desire is a good thing. It's right for you to like girls, and it's right for you to like boys. That is a legitimate desire that people are supposed to have. I don't care how old you are. I don't care how saved you are. Everybody in here lusts, and you're supposed to lust. Lust is a legitimate desire that is a part of the human emotion, human desire, the physical part of us. It is good to lust. Men are supposed to lust for women. Women are supposed to lust for men. They do it for different reasons, but you're supposed to lust. But lust becomes sin when that legitimate desire controls you instead of you controlling it. That's what happened in the text. Because Potiphar's wife had a husband. But her lust wasn't for her husband, it was for Joseph. And she was going to get him no matter what. And she was even willing to set him up. I ain't going to even tell y'all all that I've gone through in my 40 years. I share a little bit. The book is going to be mailed to me in the next couple of weeks. So I'm telling you that you got to be very conscientious about temptation. You got to be very conscientious. You got to be able to read the room and know how to conduct and carry yourself. Let's look at this text. And Joseph was taken down to Egypt, to Potiphar, an Egyptian, one of Pharaoh's officers, the captain of the guard. He bought him from the Ishmaelites who had taken him there. Now look at what verse 2 says, and the Lord was with Joseph. I want to stop right there and talk about the idea of that word Emmanuel. When it describes Jesus, it means God with us. God was with Joseph. He spared him in the pit. Now he's in Potiphar's house. And going through the door, even though he is a slave, first of all, he becomes a victim of his brother. Now he is a slave. But even as a slave, God is with him. And so look what it says, and prospers him. Now, this is what I want to say here. I don't care what you do to try to stop the person from getting what you think they don't deserve. You can't stop God. Because this brother thought for sure they had stopped this dreamer from getting what the dreamer says God was going to give him. Now, they might have threw a stumbling block in Joseph's way, but not God's way. God is going to have his way. You can't get in God's way. You can't stop God from blessing who God's going to bless. They thought, because see, they thought they had gotten him put in a position to where they cut off the blessings or the favor of God. But in this situation in Potiphar's house, the Lord was with him. The Lord prospered him. He lived in the house of his Egyptian master. And when his master saw, man, there's so much in here. I could preach a 3-point sermon. Listen, the Lord was with him and prospered him. And when his master saw that the Lord was with him. Now, this is something that really, when I was studying this on my way here, that I really wanted to lift up. When the Lord is with somebody, you can know it and you can see it. You just can't deny it. Because in this situation, he comes in as a slave bought from the Ishmaelite, and he was automatically recognized that everything Potiphar saw Joseph doing, Joseph did it well. And Potiphar prospered and profited from the labor of Joseph. See, that's why some folk don't like you, because they see that the Lord is with you. Potiphar could recognize that there was something special and different about Joseph. And people notice and see there's something different about you. Everything they do to try to undermine you, everything they do to try to hinder you, everything they do to try to block you, everything they do to try to throw a stumbling block in your way, nothing works. If you trip, you get up. If you fall, you get back up. And you can take a licking and keep on ticking. They can't take you out. And people see it. And they can't stop the flow of blessings from God from flowing into your life. And they get frustrated. And so the Lord blessed him and prospered him. And when his master saw that the Lord was with him, he gave him success in everything that he did. Joseph found favor in the eyes of his master. And I'm reading from another translation. Joseph found favor in his eyes and became his attendant. And Potiphar put him in charge of his household and entrusted him to take care of everything that he owned. And from that time, he put him in charge of his household and all that he owned. The Lord blessed the household of the Egyptian because of Joseph. Now, I read that slow for a reason. God blessing the house of Potiphar's and all that Potiphar's had was connected to Joseph. You know why Potiphar's house was blessed and all that Potiphar had was blessed? Because of Joseph. See, that's what people don't really understand. You got to know who God has prospered, who God has anointed, who God has put his hand upon. That it is through that person God is blessing you. You are part of something, but it is through an individual or a person that God has brought blessings through that individual. People don't really understand, and they don't like that. They don't like it. Potiphar's house was being blessed because of Joseph, but Potiphar had the sense enough to know it's because of Joseph. He had other servants that were his attendant. He put them in charge. They weren't doing what Joseph was doing. But when he saw that Joseph was the reason why his household was being blessed, and he knew, the Egyptian knew it was because of Joseph. The blessings of the Lord was upon everything Potiphar had, both his household and in the field. Now that's going to be an important phrase, in the field, because not only was the household, the personal effects, the management of the house, how he managed the household, the servants, and all that was in the Potiphar's house was really doing good. When he came over and took over the servants and then the books, the administrative, the finance, it was just running perfectly. But then Joseph went out there in the fields, and the fields represent agriculture. It represents livestock. He put him over that and says, look, you over all these livestock, but you also over all of my fields, all of my agriculture, my hay, my wheat, my corn, whatever you grow. And then Joseph went out there and started managing that, and that started yielding a harvest. That's going to be important because of what he does in the palace. Because you remember, he's going to come up with this ingenious idea that's going to get him put in charge of collecting grain in a time of famine, and he's going to save the Egyptians and make them the hub for business and commerce because of his plan. So he blessed him. And so we see this. So Potiphar's left everything he had in Joseph's care. With Joseph in charge, this man didn't have to worry about nothing concerning himself except what he ate. Now that's a heck of a lot of responsibility. The only thing that Potiphar had to worry about was what he ate. Everything else he left in charge in Joseph's hands. Now that's a lot of trust, that's a lot of confidence, because he saw that God has blessed this man. And see, this is another thing that I want to share with you. When a person demonstrates that they can be trusted and they are fair and they have great management skills, you need to reward that. You know what I mean? Don't question it, reward it. And so he's at that point. Now Joseph, now this is where he get in trouble, because I don't want to spend a little time here, though. Look what the text said. Now Joseph was well built. He wasn't built like me. He was way better looking than me. Joseph was well built. That's what my translation said. What's your translation say? He's what? Yeah, and he's well built and handsome. Now, if I were to give you a modern person that Joseph would look like, and I don't know anybody in mind, but you know, everybody have a different idea of what well built and handsome is. I like when people say I look like Idris Elba, because you know he's the man. But I'm just saying, he the man for, you know, he's the idea of masculinity and alpha maleness and Gert. And then some people say Morris Chestnut. Some people say Boris Kodjoe. These are black people that we know that are very handsome and well built. These are the physical characteristics that Joseph had. He was well built. In other words, he had the perfect body and he had the perfect facial features. He probably had eyes that seduced women. His hair was probably curly. His shoulders were broad. His stomach was flat with a six-pack, and his chest was bulging, and he probably had the perfect physique in his arms. He wore them sandals. And you know, they didn't wear breeches then. He wore this little belt with this little thing. And he walking around there sweating in that hot Egyptian sun. And she looking at this man. And she just can't take it. And he coming in and out of the house. And so this man is very handsome. And the Bible wants you to really, I'm trying to paint the picture for you, that this was a very handsome man. And see, he wasn't like most of the other servants. He didn't have to get dirty and sweaty. He had access to the best of everything. And so not only did he look good, but he could get all the grooming, all of the fragrances, the oils, and take baths and all that stuff. So that's all that is entailed in this idea that Joseph was well built and very handsome. And after a while, the master's wife took notice. Jesus, I can't really tell you who took notice of the boy. Not all attention is good attention. Because whenever a woman or a man fix their attention on what they can't have that belongs to somebody else, you got trouble. Ain't the truth what I'm saying? You got trouble. It says that she took notice of Joseph. The woman was not shy at all. Now listen, this is Old English. That's not what the Old English, when they translated this, the translators for King James says, she says, come to bed with me. You know that ain't what she said. She said something way more graphic than that. She was straight up, because she took, and even the word took notice of him, that's Old English. They translated it, but that's not what it means. When it says she took notice of him, it literally means she lusted for him. Day after day, she had been watching him. She had noticed him. He had access to come into Potiphar's house, in and out. She saw him sitting at his desk, writing, getting up, fixing a cup of coffee, going back, sitting down. Saw him over the other servants and managing the household of Potiphar. She saw him going to his quarters to sleep, getting up in the morning. She is in the kitchen looking out the window, watching him exercise his authority, watching him work the other servants, managing the household of Potiphar. She watched him day after day, and the more she watched him, the more she wanted him. Remember, the woman married. And finally she said, enough is enough. Joseph, you fine, my husband gone. You might well come on in here and take care of mom while dad is gone. And so she said, come to bed with me. But he refused. And I'm going to teach this lesson biblically, and I'm teaching it right. He refused. That is the first thing you have to do. You have to be straight. When you have an unwanted advance, or somebody comes to you, steps to you, and makes a proposition or proposal, and you're not interested, the first thing to do is just to refuse, to say no. I'm not saying it's going to work, but you just got to say no. That's the first thing he did. He done what was right. But he refused. With me in charge, he told her, my master does not concern himself with anything in his house. Everything he owns is entrusted to my care. No one is greater in my master's house than I. My master has not withheld nothing, anything from me except you. You know, the things that we want the most in life are the things that we can't have. or most of the time, it's what belongs to somebody else. Why do you think the last commandment of the 10 Commandments is thou shalt not covet? Thy neighbor's husband, wife, manservants, female servants, his camel, his donkeys, his asses, nothing. We covet what belongs to somebody else that is forbidden for us to have. And he tried to explain to this woman, now I got a good boss. I got a good master. He has elevated me. He has put a lot of responsibility under my care. And he trusts me. And I don't want to betray his trust. Now that should have been enough for her to say, okay, I understand. He my husband, he your master. And I understand you don't want to betray his trust. And I'm sorry, Joseph. I just kind of lost my mind a little bit. So just go on, it's over. And so you think it would be over. And then he said, how then could I do such a wicked thing and sin against God? But it wasn't over. Because verse number 10 is a verse you really need to read. Now listen, he done refused the one time, baby girl. Said, no, we can't do this here. But look what the text said. Day after day, the woman was persistent and consistent. I'm trying to paint this picture for you. Joseph said no. She let him go on back to his quarters. He went to sleep, woke up the next morning. He come back in the house, sat at his desk that he had been given by Potiphar to do his work. She sat in the kitchen, tapping on her coffee cup, looking at him. Don't say nothing to him. He get ready to leave. Said, now look, what about what I asked you yesterday? He said, I told you I can't do it. So he left. Came back the next day. Went in the house, did the same thing. She in the kitchen, probably walking around. And this time she upped the ante. Probably clothes or less. She's upping the ante. So what about what I said yesterday? I can't do it. Next day, same thing, routine. But this time she let him get out of the house. She see him out in the yard. She walk out there. You sure look good out there, working and sweating and managing. What about what I said the other day? Day after day. But he refused her, wouldn't go to bed with her, and wouldn't even be with her. Remember what it says, wouldn't go to bed with her, but then wouldn't even be with her. So he started taking precautions. When it says wouldn't even be with her. And some scholars and theologians believe he started taking precautions. He said, I ain't gonna go to bed with you, but now he's fixing to start protecting himself. He's fixing to shield himself from her. He's going to limit her access to him. He's going to distance himself from her. He's not going to go around her as much. He's not going to get as close to her as he normally would. He's not going to go in the house as much. He's going to limit his contact with her, and he's going to try to be around her as least as possible. Now, you know that ain't what Negroes do. Okay, now, Mr. Harris, you know that girl like you. Why you keep? She done told you. And you sitting at that table grinning every day. You sure look good. That's a nice black truck you got. Okay, that's a red flag. Ding! Now you grinning. I'm talking about nothing about you specifically, but I'm saying, and so instead of you kind of saying, look, I'm good. Listen, I'm writing another book that I'm working on. It's called Breaking the Man Code. And the book is about a guide for modern dating. And breaking the man code is talking about things that women don't know about men that men think and do. And I just want to say this, and I'm off the lesson a little bit, Dorothy. But you know, men are stupid. We're real stupid when it comes to, if a situation like this, you know what he started doing, baby girl? Now, he ain't never combed his hair or shaped his beard. His wife know he ain't never cleaned up to go to work. All of a sudden, we so silly, we start doing what we never did before, which is the automatic red flag. Now, you barely can get him to take a bath at night. Now, he up in the morning shower. He ain't never put on no cologne, smelling good, looking good, brushed his teeth, combed his hair. All of a sudden, you know that's a red flag. I'm just saying. But see, now a woman is so sneaky, she don't have to change nothing. Because she's smart enough to know she'll pack it in the bag, and she won't change till she leave your presence. I'm just saying. But men are so silly. We change everything about ourselves. We change our routine because we are hunters. And we don't think strategically like women do. And I'm just telling you this because I'm trying to focus the lesson. This woman was persistent, and Joseph decided, I need to change everything about what I do around this woman, in the presence of this woman, and I need to limit this woman's access to me. Now, one of the best advice I've ever gotten was from Fiona Home Hattie. She says, if a woman can't get the message to you, it's not a temptation. So if you can't tell me that you like me, I will never know it. So you have to limit contact, communication. You got to be very careful what you say and what you hear. If a person say, you can't constantly keep. And so Joseph wouldn't even be with her. And that really suggests he started limiting access, is what I want to say. But one day, she said, ain't nothing worried. So she said this, I'm going to be dramatic. Dr. Christopher Davis says this is a bit the imagination of preaching. So one day she said, man, ain't nothing worried. But she said, he coming tomorrow. And it's happening. It's going down tomorrow no matter what. That day, she got up, put her extensions in, put her makeup on, eyelids, put some rouge on her chin, got some of them fragrances, smelled up, put on her best negligee, put on her stilettos, and said, it's going down today. This man is going to give me what I want. I'm sick of him. And I'm going to show him that he want me. He done told me he don't want me, but I'm going to show him that he do want me. I just said something, but y'all, it went over y'all head. He done told me that he don't want me, but I'm going to show him that he do want me. And so she said, I'm going to get him today. So one day he went into the house just to do his job. Now, do you think the next statement in that verse is by accident, or that she had something to do with none of the servants were inside? You think that was by accident? Because you know there were manservants, female servants, there were maids, there were attendants, there were what we called these maidservants that Laban gave to Rachel and Leah, and these people they were house servants. So do you think it was by accident that none of them were inside? That was a red flag right there. Joseph had his key, opened the door, and usually he would be greeted by either a male servant or a manservant. And when he went in that door and nobody greeted him, and he looked around and called for one of the maid servants, a man servant, nobody responded, that should have been a red flag. Nobody responded, saw nobody. So it says none of them. So she caught him by his cloak. You remember in Friday, when Cat Williams was, and he grabbed him up, and he said, "You like the Matrix." That's probably what she grabbed him by his cloak and pulled him close. That probably would have, that's an aggressive woman. Now I'm gonna tell you now, that's a tough situation to be in. It's a tough situation to be in because of the aggression of Potiphar's wife. Because it says she caught him by the cloak and said, "Come to bed with me." Do you see that exclamation mark? She got aggressive and loud. Or either some say she got really, her voice changed, she was seductive, she was very subtle. Either she said, "Come and to bed with me," or either she said, "Joseph, come and let's go to bed with me." Either way. But he left his cloak in her hand and ran out. Let me give you this, and I'm almost finished. First time he refused it. Now, second time he ran. Now, sometimes you got to run. I'm running for my life because I want to see Christ. Sometimes you have to run. Do whatever you can to get away from a situation. Now, let me tell you something. I'm trying to explain to you that there are some situations in life that are difficult and hard and challenging. It's not out of fear. It's not that Joseph was a coward. He was protecting his own integrity. He didn't mind that he ran out naked or without his cloak. A cloak was a very important garment. Sometimes it signified his rank or his influence within the house. It might have had some insignias, some patches on that represented that he was second in charge, whatever. It was an important garment, but he left it behind. Some to say that he ran out nude, that's probably wasn't true, but it was his outer garments that he left. It was evidence. He didn't run out nude. She never got him to go that far. And so he left his garment, but he ran. Got to get away sometime. The best way to avoid temptation is to get away from temptation. That's not hard to figure out. It's tough. I really ain't teaching this lesson because I want to because my little Harris is here, but I mean, telling you, tough. It's a tough situation. But Joseph had to leave. He ran out. And when she saw that he left his cloak in her hand, she ran out of the house, called the household servants, and said, "Look," she said to them, "this Hebrew has been brought here to make sport of us. He came in here to sleep with me, but I screamed. And when he heard me scream for help, he left his cloak beside me and ran." That woman completely made up that entire story. Now, don't tell me a woman won't lie and put some stuff on you. Am I making sense? You see that, Sister Harris? Is that not in there? That's in there, ain't it? She made that complete story up. Manufactured a story. And she told it to the servants that should have been in the house because they've been in there every other day. She didn't have to go look for them, but they were not in there because she possibly sent them out. Or it could have been that they were outside doing their outside duties and they were just not in there. And she knew their routine. Either way. But the point I'm trying to make is she made up a story that wasn't true. She lied on this man. You don't think people will lie on somebody? Make up a story? Anybody ever in here been lied on? I mean, just flat out lied. Nothing she said was the truth. He didn't try to sleep with her. She tried to sleep with him. She probably didn't scream. He did. Get your hands off me, woman. You crazy? And he didn't leave his cloak there. She grabbed it and wouldn't let go of it. Do you not know how hard she had to hold on to that cloak? It was on his arm. It probably wasn't tied in the front. And she grabbed him from the front, remember? And he probably stepped back, and she grabbed a hold to one side of it, and she wouldn't let it go, and she probably grabbed the other side. He wouldn't let it go, kept stepping back, and eventually he just decided he's going to turn around and get this arm out, took this arm out, and then he probably took this arm out and left. She was the aggressor. She was the one trying to get him to go to bed with her. But now she flipped the script on him. When this woman didn't get what she wanted, she made up a lie to destroy this man, to destroy this man's integrity, to destroy this man's reputation, to destroy his man's good name. And people will do just that. All of us are guilty of something. But not all that people say about you or I is true. Sometimes they say what they say because they can't get what they want. Do I have any witnesses in here? Folk make up stuff. Baby girl, not everything they say is true. But as my very boisterous member, Nell, says, he better like women, and I do. But not everything they say about me when it comes to women is true. I do love women. That's what I'm supposed to do. But people will make up what they don't really know about you. You know, when people don't know your business, they'll make up some business about you. When you keep your life and your relationship shrouded in mystery, they swear, Dorothy, because you single, your husband, you've been gone, you a widow now, they swear because you don't live your new life publicly and all out in the streets with it, they make up stuff. That's what people tend to do because they don't know your business, so they manufacture some business. They create this myth about you, and they try to push this myth because they don't know your private life. Ain't the truth what I'm saying? Make up a whole story about you. Ain't none of that stuff true. Any man that show up at your house, they swear you sleeping with. And all you trying to do is get your yard cut, your equipment fixed, or something. Keep your life, private life, private. I determined that, I had to change a couple things about my private life. Because, see, folks so nasty and messy. Facebook and social media, instant messaging and WhatsApp. Folks message people about me to somebody I might like. That's just messy. Trying to distort the truth to tell them a different narrative because they couldn't get what they wanted. Won't they do it? Just make up a lie. And some of our reputations have been damaged, not ruined, but damaged because people make up a lie. You didn't do nothing. They didn't get what they wanted. And so they create this story that you are this, that, or the other. This woman completely made and manufactured a lie and told it to her household servants and said to them, he tried to rape me. That's exactly what she was accusing him of. This Hebrew tried to rape me. Accused this man of rape, damaging his good name and his reputation and his standing in Potiphar's house. That's some low down dirty stuff. Let me get on to this part. And she kept his cloak. Joseph continued to come to work, but he just avoided her probably. He probably asked for his cloak back. She said, I ain't giving you nothing. And then he said, I won't ask a second time. I'm done. But she kept it. Just low down. Verse 16, she kept his cloak beside her until his master came home. And then she told him this story. She done lied one time to the servants. Now she finna lie and tell a whole lie and manufacture a whole story that ain't true. That Hebrew slave you brought to us. Now this is the help I'm sorry. Calm down. Us, not me. First of all, she said, he has come to literally mock us. She said that to the servant. Now she's saying to her husband. To us, to make sport of me. But as soon as I screamed for help, he left his cloak and ran out of the house. And when his master heard this story, his wife told, he said, this is how your slave treated me. He burned with anger. Now, the master was Joseph's greatest advocate. Now he becomes Joseph's adversary. Now this woman messed up the relationship between Potiphar and Joseph. One woman. Because she manufactured a lie because the man she wanted didn't want her. And so she messed up a good relationship between a master and his slave. A master who trusted his slave. A slave who had integrity toward his master, did not to violate the one thing, the one rule his master had was not to mess with his wife. And see, this happens so many times in so many situations where one individual, because they don't get what they want, can mess up the relationship between two people who are getting along and have a good relationship. Don't let nobody mess up what we got because they can't get what they want. I wish I could say what I want to say, but I can't. I can say what I want to say, but I can't. Being a single pastor is not an easy thing, but it comes with a lot of responsibility. It's a lot of weight. It's a lot of temptation. It is. But how you take that temptation, how you handle that responsibility and that burden is up to you. And when people don't get what they want from you, they will make up stuff about you to try to damage the good relationship you got with the church or with the people in the church, to try to paint you as being somebody bad. I'm going to say this, Brother Harris. Now, some women you all not even believe because you know good and well she ain't my type. Now, that's just a stretch and a bridge too far. When I was studying this lesson today, Sister Harris and Jackie, I was thinking about one woman in particular. Told everybody I wanted her. Was telling everybody I just had to have her. She just telling folk. And when we went to my other church, was telling folk I was after her. And so she had to leave this church because I just would not. I would not stay out of her face. And I just wanted her so much, and told her best friend that was a member of my other church, and her best friend was a member of my other church, said she hurt her feelings, I almost made her cry. She said, I know my pastor. And I didn't see the kind of females my pastor deal with. And on a scale from 1 to 10, you a -2. There's no way you're going to tell me my pastor ever said anything to you. Now, you might have left that church, but it wasn't because the pastor was chasing after you and ever said anything to you. Out of the way. There's no way you're going to tell me that my pastor said something to you. Now, that might have been a delusion in your head. You probably said something to him and he told you no. Or you probably said something stupid, because I know him. I'm just giving you a real illustration. And everything they told that lady that left this church, she was telling everybody I wanted her. I'm thinking to myself, really? But she made up a whole story that I wanted her. And she had to leave this church because she didn't feel comfortable. Y'all quit being messy. Y'all so messy. Y'all don't know who I'm talking about. Y'all just messy. Y'all just straight messy. I'm just telling you the story. And would tell folk that. And I'm telling you, this is the funny thing. And told this story to Schaefer in Walmart, and Schaefer laughed in her face. You know how Schaefer is. He wouldn't want you. You know what I'm saying? But that's what people will do. I'm telling you, this woman told this lie to her husband, messed up a good relationship that the master had with his slave had with his master. And so Joseph, and I'm closing, Joseph's master took him, put him in prison, a place where the king's prisoners were confined. I'm going to close right there, because now this is where it gets good. You see how God is moving Joseph from a bad place, but putting him in a good position. The bad place is the pit. The bad place is Potiphar's house, but he puts him in the best position in a bad place. And here, now look what, not on this, one scholar wanted me to tell you, this is an important phrase in this text. In a place where the king's prisoners were confined. That is important because of where he was put. He was not put in the general population. He was put in a special place because there was a special place in the prison where the king's prisoners were placed. These were people who had access to the king, who the king condemned and sentenced to prison. There was a special place for them. It was like a prison strictly reserved for people who got in trouble with the king and committed a offense against the king. And it was a special prison, not in the general population. This is a special place in the prison. This was not with everybody else, but these were people who particularly served the king and who done something to offend the king, and that's important. In that place, that's where Joseph was sent, and it was because of who Potiphar was. He was an official, a guard in the king's army. And so that's where he was placed. And we're going to see next week how, because of where he was placed, he got access to the king. Not directly, but indirectly, because where he was put, 2 other prisoners were there. And those 2 other prisoners had the ear of the king. And you're going to see how God continues to unfold this story. What's the lessons here in this particular lesson? Got to be careful. Sometimes you have to refuse, sometimes you have to run. And sometimes people will set you up. But see, now I'm like Joseph. Now when I see that person, that woman that said all that, I don't even speak to her. I don't even speak to her. Not out of rudeness. Not out of rudeness. Not out of rudeness, but out of caution. You see what I'm saying? It makes sense to you? Am I making sense to you? And so it's not that I don't like the person. I'm just being, now you've been telling everybody I've been, and so now I need to be more cautious and protect my reputation.